All right, everyone, now we have to talk about Bill Taylor, ambassador to Ukraine, his understanding with regards to what Trump truly wanted. I'm going to go through this. This is a CNN story, which means, of course, it's fake news. But we're going to go through it a little bit, and we're going to try to discover how this is propaganda. A little bit of an exercise. U.S. top diplomat Taylor was told Trump wanted aid withheld until Ukraine said it would investigate Biden. Wow, how damning! Trump was withholding money from the nation of Ukraine unless they tried to squish out one of his political opponents. Oh my God! See, the problem is, again, it's a lie by structure. The title only tells a small part of the story and doesn't even tell that particularly well. Most people, by the way, read that title and didn't go any further. That's how you lie in that sense. Then we'll go through the first little sentence here, which is what 90% of those who have a longer attention span stopped at. The U.S. top diplomat in Ukraine, Bill Taylor, testified Tuesday, had closed-door proceedings, of course, that he had been told President Donald Trump would withhold military aid to the country until it publicly declared investigations would be launched that could help his re-election chances. There's an inference, by the way, in CNN's own words that isn't actually part of the testimony, including into former Vice President Joe Biden, according to a copy of Taylor's opening statement obtained by CNN. So you got an opening statement at these closed-door proceedings. You're not going to get any of the cross-examination because that's all apparently the Democrats, led by Schiff, want it basically de facto classified. Even the Republicans can't see it. So it's very funny. You've got a whistleblower. Supposedly the president just got blown out of the water, but they don't want the public to see any of the testimony. The problem is this. There are several problems with the tagline of this article. The first part is that would be launched that could help his re-election chances, including into former Vice President Joe Biden. Well, who else is included? Oh, yeah, it turns out it had nothing to do with specifically Hunter Biden. Trump wanted the nation of Ukraine, and this is why he withheld aid to them. He was threatening to do so, until they looked into whether there had been 2016 election interference by Ukrainian sources. What do we now know, by the way? Paul Manafort, who got fired mysteriously and very early by Trump, he was interfering with politics in Ukraine. Was there a quid pro quo with Paul Manafort? I think there might have been, and I think that when Trump found that out, he canned him and realized that there was a problem. Here's the thing. This doesn't mean anything. It's not meaningful. If you're investigating the possibility of election interference, and you're looking into potentially past diplomatic mistakes involving Ukraine and involving potentially at the time then Vice President Joe Biden. If you're investigating a firm that may have been involved in criminal dealings, you have no choice but to investigate the people attendant to it. The fact that Hunter Biden is sitting on the board of the firm does not mean that it magically grants them immunity from all future prosecution because he happens to be the son of a vice president and now presidential candidate. That doesn't make any sense. By the way, how does this specifically help Trump's re-election chances? Begging the question, based on what? Is CNN saying that Biden has been coronated to be the nominee? By the way, Hillary Clinton, this is according to the Amazing Atheist, and I'm not going to her fucking website to check. Apparently, Hillary Clinton's nuts. She just added a section to her website that looks mysteriously like a run-up to an announcement to a presidential campaign. Maybe H.A. Goodman in his wildest fever dreams is actually correct. She's actually insane enough to try it a third time. Oh, I hope so. I hope H.A. is right. I hope that I have to publicly say that I was totally wrong. Please, Hillary, please run. Please. Oh, make my life complete. It would be so wonderful. Because then the Democrats will completely crash and burn the next day. Oh, it'll be great. I'll have to do 5 or 6 videos just that hour, probably. This article doesn't even mention until halfway through that the actual investigation that was requested had to do with election interference. This happened to come up in the context of that conversation. By the way, again, who cares? Let's say that Donald Trump, he gets elected and he turns around, he goes to the Ukrainians, I'm going to withhold $1 billion from you unless you investigate this case that you dropped after firing the old prosecutor who did want to go after it. And CNN, by the way, themselves having the new prosecutor, then at the time appointed at the behest of Vice President Joe Biden, who said there was no problem at the firm and no reason to look into it. So Ukraine, one of the most corrupt nations in the somewhat developed world outside of maybe sub-Saharan Africa, Venezuela, and a few Asian countries. With that exception, one of the most corrupt, certainly within the context of Europe. You believe Poroshenko at his word when he says there was no problem there. The Democrats are going to believe the dictator light that runs Ukraine on this issue. Okay, have a good time with that, because again, Orange Man bad. But if this is such explosive testimony, why is it that the legacy media is not endlessly replicating it across the news cycle? Well, it's been injected into this day's news cycle, but I'm not seeing a whole lot about it right now. Could it be that there's a sneaking suspicion among those journos about why they keep it closed-door testimony and haven't released anything but the initial transcript? Which, how am I even supposed to believe it? It's closed-door proceedings. I can't see him in his own words talking about this. Top diplomat from Ukraine, says Orange Man bad. Okay, who cares? So he decided he thinks that the presidency is like a sinking ship, and he's fleeing it like a rat, and he's saying what people want to hear. But there's nothing new here. We already knew that Trump had discussed these things with the nation of Ukraine. Oh, but there was quid pro quo. Who cares? Literally, who cares? Is it improper? Let's put this in a vacuum. A president, doesn't matter their political party, Democrat, Republican, let's say they don't have a party, says to a random foreign state, I'm going to withhold promised money to you until you investigate the possibility that your country was in some part involved in interfering with our elections. Is that improper? No. It doesn't matter if there's a quid pro quo there. It's not unlawful. It's not against any norm or mores. It's part of the president's job. The president is tasked with the security of this country. What could be possibly more important than making sure our election system is unscathed? The Democrats spent years rambling about election interference, weaponizing every aspect of government to look into election interference. They simply forgot to investigate Ukraine. Russia, carte blanche, do whatever you want, spend tens of millions of dollars looking into it and find absolutely fucking nothing. Ukraine, don't even mention it. You're a conspiracy theorist. No possibility. By the way, Orange Man bad. They needed that money because reasons. Who cares? Trump did nothing illegal. They're not going to impeach him over this. Be really funny if they tried. That's about all. Peace out.